I want to talk about I will bless the Lord. I will bless the Lord. Hallelujah. For those of us who have read the 34th number of the Psalms, we recognize that the historical context from which this Psalms is derived, 1 Samuel chapter 21 through 1 Samuel chapter 22, verses 1 through 3. If you will look at the subscription that you'll find above this Psalms, it simply says that this is a psalm of David when he changed his behavior before Abimelech, who drove him away and he departed. For those of us who are familiar with the historical context of this message today, we recognize that David has been on the run from King Saul. He's been running for his life. Saul has sought to slay David. And so David finds himself going to a place called Gath. Gath was a region of the Philistines. You do remember that Goliath, the giant, was from Gath. And so automatically I have trouble with this little passage, because one must recognize, how do you find refuge among your enemies? Talk with me, somebody. The Philistines were enemy of God's people, but David is a fugitive now. He goes down to Gath. He does it because he fears Saul. He gets down to Gath, and just as soon as Achish, Ahimelech also, which is his proper title, as soon as he discovers who David is, he asks the men around him, "Why have you brought me this madman?" For David has to feign himself mad. He has to literally act as though he's crazy. Everybody that acts crazy ain't crazy. Everybody, talk with me, somebody. Sometimes people will play like they crazy. Turn around and tell your neighbor, they got good sense. They got good sense. Oh yeah, he played like he was crazy. And that's one of the very reasons that the writer says that he allowed spittle to go down his beard. He began to scribble on the doorpost. Achish says literally, "Why have you brought me this madman? What use will he be to me?" David is afraid. He fears Achish, and so he begins to desire to flee. Fear will make you act foolish, and it will ultimately lead to your failure. That's one of the very reasons that Paul wrote to Timothy the other day and says that the Lord has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and of a sound mind. Tell somebody, I still got my mind. Yeah, sound mind. Hallelujah. That's a striking contrast, because the writer declares that David, now fearing Achish, is on the run. It's a great difference between what we're reading in 1 Samuel about David than what he wrote in Psalms 27. In Psalm 27, he said, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even mine enemies, came upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell. Though a host should encamp around me, my heart," watch this, "shall not fear. The war should arise against me. In this will I be confident. In the time of trouble." That's where I've been trying to get. In the time of trouble, when you get in a tight place, he shall hide me in his pavilion. In the secret of his tabernacle shall he hide me. And then he's going to set me on a rock. Anybody here today know that God will go with you when you get in trouble? Turn and tell somebody, I've been in trouble before, but the Lord made a way for me. David finds himself fearing Saul, and now he's in Gath fearing Achish. I tell you what he does. He knows it's getting hat time. And so with speed and trepidation, he makes his way from Gath, finds a cave of Adullam. Now the word Adullam is literally a sealed off place. And it was near, as a stronghold, it was near the very place where he killed Goliath. And what a wonderful place to just reminisce, reflect, remember, recall how good the Lord had been in the place. In the past, everybody needs a cave of Adullam. Everybody needs that place where you can just get back to. Think about the goodness of the Lord. Think about how good he is, how good he's been, how he's healed you, how he's brought you out, how he's made a way. Tell your neighbor you need a cave of Adullam. You need a sealed off place. Now he began to think about how good the Lord has been. He began to think about the Lord's giving him serenity and safety and security. And the writer declares it's in that cave of Adullam that 300 men choose him as their captain. The word alliterates the text as it is. It says those men that were in distress found him. Those men that was in debt found him. Those people that were discontented found him. Anybody here today in distress? I get you on this one. Anybody in debt? See, I'm talking to you today. Anybody discontented? This one is for you today. 300 men, they choose David as their captain, and David picks up pen and parchment in hand and writes this powerful, prolific, purposeful psalm. He turns his cave into a cathedral. I also take note that he's not writing in a hurry. How do you know it? I know it because it's considered a acrostic psalm. And that means that each of the 22 verses began with a different and consecutive letter of the Hebrew language. So he's not writing in a hurry. He's just thinking about the goodness of the Lord, musing over the goodness of the Lord, taking his time. He says, I will bless the Lord. Now watch this. First of all, it's personal. I will bless the Lord. I suggest to you today that you've got to make this thing personal. Your blessing of the Lord has to be a personal thing. Here's an affirmation of intent. I will, because most people say I will not. That's where many of us fail the test right there. We conclude that whatever we're going through is so bad that we won't. But David says, I will. I'm going to make a conscious choice not to remain a silent saint sitting in the sanctuary like a statue. I'm going to bless the Lord. Now watch what he does. He said that word blessed is an interesting word in the Hebrew language. It's literally the same word that we derive our word eulogy from. So it literally means I'm going to speak well of the Lord. And that's important. David says, regardless of what I'm confronted with, what I'm faced with, what's going on in my life, regardless of my situation, regardless of my circumstances, I'm going to speak well of God. Now, one of the things that you do know in a eulogy, or you don't talk bad about the person, or you try your best not to. That reminds me, I was doing a funeral some years ago, as a matter of fact, and a sister of the deceased stood up and said, Junior would give the shoes off his feet. And the preacher leaned over to me and said they would have been somebody else's shoes because he done took them off somebody else's foot. And he was a terrible fella. The eulogy is designed to speak well of individuals. So here David says, I will bless, I will speak well of the Lord at all times. I will. It's not up to my neighbor. It's not up to the person sitting on the other side of me. I showed up to bless him at all times. Talk with me, somebody. Because every now and then we need to treat God like the wedding vows, for better, worse, rich or poor, sickness and in health. Literally, I'm going to bless the Lord at all times. I'm going to bless it for better and when it's worse. I'm going to bless him when I'm rich and when I'm poor. I'm going to bless him when I'm sick and when I'm healthy. No situation, no circumstance will cause David to speak ill of the Lord. You do recall that's the very thing that kept Job on the forefront of his situation. It was Job. Satan says, I'm going to make him curse you to your face. He says that to God. I'm going to make him disown you. I'm going to make him disavow you. I'm going to make him doubt you. I'm going to make him do all that to your face. And Job came through with flying colors. Job said, the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And every now and then you got to learn how to live. Watch this, on not just one side of that verse. You got to learn how to live on both sides of that verse. The Lord giveth, I'll bless him, but also the Lord taketh away. That's the other side of that verse, but yet I'll bless his name. Is there anybody